activity. It just sets an upper limit on the size of groups in the end. So the most social species really only have average group sizes around 50 to 60 in primates.
In 1992, Dunbar came up with a formula that predicts the upper limit to the number of bonds any primate like us can ever have. And it's proved so reliable that it's become known as the Dunbar number.
We sort of plugged human brain sizes into the same equation, and it gives this number of 150. And sure enough, that turns up all over the place in human communities. It turns up in the military, it turns up in average village sizes, in the Doomsday Book, 1087 AD, it turns up in hunter-gatherer communities.
So what does the Dunbar number mean for the Facebook generation, Homo interneticus? Has Facebook actually changed the upper limits of friendship previously set by nature? When Facebook's in-house sociologists analyzed all active networks, they found that, sure enough, nature is playing out online. The reality is that the average Facebook member currently has well below Dunbar's upper limit of 150. In fact, the number of Facebook friends they interact with on a daily basis is surprisingly small, typically only 5 or 6.
So while you can claim you have this huge network of people you know in some vague sense, most of those relationships I wouldn't call relationships, you know, they're voyeurs.
So through the Dunbar number, we've found that Facebook's drive for network effect isn't changing our relationships. For me, there's something deeper going on, beyond this superficial issue of numbers. The point about Facebook is that it does something else to our relationships. It puts them in a constant loop of digital information. To understand what that means, we need to go back to the very origins of the phrase "in the loop" and some important science developed in the Second World War.
The enemy again and again broke through the coastal defenses.
Night after night, the brave anti-aircraft gunners stood by their posts and tried in vain to shoot down the German bombers. British military scientists realized quickly that they were facing a grave problem.
The problem that the anti-aircraft gunners had was that while the radar could spot the planes and the gunners could fire at them, they still missed the target. It would be an American mathematician, Norbert Wiener, who would provide the answer.
When Wiener heard what was facing the British gunners, he decided to come up with a solution that tackled the problem in a completely different way.
Wiener asked a simple question. When we walk, why don't we fall over? Wiener argued that what keeps us upright is a constant loop of information to and from the brain, a loop of action and reaction that allows us to predict future action. So Wiener saw the gunner, his gun, the plane, and the pilot not as separate entities, but all embedded in the same loop of continuous feedback. Only through thinking in this way, linking human and machine together as one, could the gunners successfully hit their targets. One of the big innovations of Facebook is to apply this constant action and reaction to friendship.
In fact, I believe that they are key in understanding how our online relationships have transformed forever.
What Facebook pioneered before anyone else was status updates, fed between friends in real time. But at the beginning, it wasn't like that. Back in 2004, it was a simple college student website.
Legend has it that one night after a bad date, Mark came back and hacked into the student databases to create a website for rating all of the women on campus. 2 hours later, 80% of the student population had voted, crashing the entire student computer servers.
Mark was the type of person who was always, thinking of technical solutions to social problems.
Seeing the demand for connection, Zuckerberg started a new venture, Facebook.
I built the first version of Facebook in a couple of weeks in my dorm room at Harvard. And I built it just because I wanted the people around me, the students at Harvard, to be able to share information with each other and stay connected a little bit better. I emailed a few of my friends, and they emailed a few of their friends, and within a few days, I think thousands of people were on it at Harvard.
All of us, particularly students caught in the social whirl of college life, crave news and gossip about our friends. But Zuckerberg realized that while the web made information available, people didn't always know it was there.
The problem was, browsing Facebook was like poking your head into somebody's room every time you wanted to find out what they were doing. You had to go to your friends' pages every day, or you missed something crucial that they posted. And if you missed something crucial, then you didn't respond. And if you didn't respond, then your friend thought nobody was watching. And what's the point in bragging if nobody cares?
Let's get fired up!
What changed everything is what Zuckerberg did next. He completed the loop of information on Facebook with something he called newsfeed. It meant that anything you posted on your site was instantly broadcast to all of your friends and vice versa. They didn't have to go looking at your site. All updates came to them.
We launched the product at midnight. We were convinced that people were going to love it. And we thought, this is the kind of thing that could change the web.
It all seems so normal now, but at the time, Facebook users hated it. They saw it as an appalling intrusion into their lives, a terrible wrench from the Facebook that they were used to.
First thing I saw on the top was that someone had broken up with someone. And so when I saw those things, I was really just put into shock. It's like, that's so much stuff broadcasting. And then I realized that all of my stuff was being broadcast the same way too, and I don't know if I didn't really want that.
As soon as we launched the product, we started looking at the feedback coming in from our users, and it was universally bad. It was, I want my homepage back, I don't like this, please turn it off. I was emailed by almost everybody I knew on Facebook to say, why did you do this to us? It was personal. And right before we were leaving, I think we were called and told that there were security guards coming because there was going to be a protest outside. This was hours after we had launched it.
I decided to make a protest against it and created a group called Students Against Facebook Newsfeed. By the third or fourth day at its apex, it was at 750,000 people in the group.
But Zuckerberg stuck to his guns. He was determined that Facebook users would live life in the loop.
Within a few days, we could see in our stats already that just the amount of page views that people were doing and the amount of engagement that they had on the site was going up, because what they were coming to the site to do was see what their friends were doing on a day-to-day basis, and this just made it so much easier to do that.
It's this culture of real-time updating and not the numbers of friends that's the big shift in all of our relationships. Constant status updates, this being in the online loop, has dragged the web into a new age, inspiring many imitators, most famously Twitter. But more importantly, what does this shift mean for you and me as we live our daily lives? I'm going to meet Sherry Turkle, an eminent clinical psychologist who's been studying our relationship with technology for 20 years. She's actively researching how the web's feedback loops challenge our sense of who we are.
I think you've started to get almost a new personality type. It moves from, I have a feeling,